Well, good morning, Doorway family. Long time no see, literally and figuratively. It's been several weeks since we've been able to gather together as a congregation in one place at one time. Hopefully that'll be ending soon. Unfortunately, we don't know any specifics just yet when the governor is going to dial back some of those recommendations regarding groups gathering of, 10s or 30s or 50s. Our anticipation is that the next step will be that they'll allow us to gather in the numbers roughly as 25% of our max capacity. In our case, the sanctuary holds about 200 plus people. That means we'll be able to handle about 50 people at a time, and thus our initial plan to perhaps have two services when we return would work out well if that's the case. We'll let you know as soon as we can about that and any other further plans or changes regarding regathering together. In light of that, this morning we're looking at Psalm number 11. Psalm number 11 is again a psalm of hope, a psalm of encouragement. As we kind of make this shift now for many of us here in South Carolina from fear about the virus taking over and killing untold thousands, it has killed, unfortunately, many tens of thousands here in the U.S., but Charleston has been particularly blessed, as has all of South Carolina. And so I want us to think about Psalm number 10 in light of encouragement now as we wait to hear from the Lord to see what he's going to have us do next. That is, when's he going to have us reconstitute as a body to gather again and worship him as one? So this morning we're in Psalm number 11. If you have that now, read along with me. In the Lord I take refuge. How can you say to my soul, flee like a bird to your mountain? For behold, the wicked bend the bow. They have fitted the arrow to the string to shoot in the dark at the upright in heart. If the foundations are destroyed, what can the righteous do? The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in heaven. His eyes see, his eyelids test the children of man. The Lord tests the righteous, but his soul hates the wicked and the one who loves violence. Let him rain coals on the wicked. Fire and sulfur and scorching wind shall be the portion of their cup. For the Lord is righteous. He loves righteous deeds. The upright shall behold his face. And so here's again yet another warning in the book of Psalms about two ways to live. You can live this way and be in the pleasure of the Lord, or you can live that way and find yourself under his wrath and judgment. But here's again a word of encouragement for us this morning as we face the unknown. Now, not so much as I said about the unknown of the virus. We know it's not going away. We know it's not as bad as it could have been. And we know it'll probably come back again and rear its ugly head perhaps later this fall or in early winter when flu season returns. We don't know, and that's what scares many of us. But there are things we do know. And those are the things we want to dwell on this morning and take encouragement from. So let's work our way through Psalm number 11, verse by verse as is our habit, and let's see what the Lord has to say to us in our particular circumstance. And so the psalmist, David, begins, in the Lord I take refuge. He's our shelter, he's our rock, he's our high tower. All this language of shelter and refuge throughout, particularly in the book of Psalms. He's where we turn to for comfort, for protection, for our shelter. And so it's a good reminder as we begin Psalm number 11 and verse 1 that the Lord is our refuge, not the government, not the knowledge of the CDC, not the governor, not in our health, but the Lord needs to be our refuge. And perhaps that's been the number one lesson many of us have had to learn this season is how to take our comfort, our pleasure, our solace, our protection in God, not in our own ability to provide for ourselves. And so in the Lord I take refuge. And so he says, if that's true, how can you say to my soul, flee like a bird to your mountain? Run away is what the challenge is. If God's your trust, go to him, the skeptics ask. For behold, he says, the wicked bend the bow. They fitted their arrow to the string to shoot in the dark at the upright in heart. If the foundations, the thing your hope is built on, are destroyed, what can the righteous do? And so the world is laughing at us, mocking us. Oh, you Christians, if you're so brave, why did you close church? Why didn't you keep gathering together during this virus? Why didn't you see if God would protect you? Well, we quit going to church because the government recommended it. We honored their authority over us in terms of protecting us. As it turns out, did we leave too soon? If we stayed too long, we don't know. We'll never know. It's in the unknown, isn't it? Are there so few cases of COVID-19 in South Carolina because it wasn't that bad of a virus, they were wrong? Or are there so few cases of COVID-19 in South Carolina because the measures that they imposed worked? We'll never know. But the skeptic says, look at you foolish Christians. Where's your faith in all this? Here's what David's answer is to that rhetorical question. The Lord is in his holy temple. God is where he's been all along. He's not left his temple. He's not abandoned his throne. It says, in fact, the Lord's throne is in heaven. He's exactly where he's always been. It's us who've wandered away, not away from the building of the church, but sometimes wandering away from God in our faith. The Lord is in his holy temple. May that be our hope and our encouragement. The Lord's throne, the King of heaven, is on his throne, and it's where it's always been. Plus, his eyes see. God knows what we're going through. God knows the struggles we feel. God knows the concerns we have. His eyes see. His eyelids test the children of man. How does he do it? Verse 5, the Lord tests the righteous. He wants to see if our faith is real. Now, of course, God knows all things. He knows if your faith is real. Just like Abraham, he knew if Abraham would follow through with Isaac in the sacrifice. The test was ultimately to prove to Abraham whether his faith was strong, whether his faith was real. And so the Lord tests the righteous. That's a good thing, by the way. It's a challenge. We sometimes wonder, why me, Lord? But bear in mind verse 5, the Lord tests the righteous, but his soul hates the wicked. Now, we're not used to that kind of language in the Bible, God hating something. His soul hates the wicked. Those are people, not acts. He hates the wicked and the one who loves violence. Bear that in mind as we sometimes think about how we want to respond to our enemies, to those who challenge us, those who question us or confront us. Let God do it, David says. Let him rain coals on the wicked. Let God judge the enemy. Let God deal with those who are unfaithful. Let God deal with those who would approach us with reproach, those who would question our faith, those who would push us down and knock us down, keep us down when we're down. Let him rain coals on the wicked. Fire and sulfur and scorching wind shall be the portion of their cup. They'll get what they deserve. Let God do it. And then here's verse 7. Begins with our favorite little word, F-O-R, for this reason, because of this. For the Lord is righteous. God is upright. He loves righteous deeds. He wants to see how we'll respond. And as he ends verse 7, the upright, those who do righteous deeds, those who are like God, the upright shall behold his face. May we be today, tomorrow, throughout however long this virus season lasts or the economic challenges that are coming with it, may we be found faithful in all things. As God tests us, may we be seen by him in the world who's watching to be righteous, that we do what he does, that we love what he loves. May we respond in faith. May we give God all the glory, and may God be glorified by us. Continue to read your Bibles. Continue to study. Continue to pray. And continue to prepare your heart, not only for us to gather together as a congregation again soon, but to gather together for eternity as the congregation of the righteous in heaven.